Good evening, everyone. Let's see, have that here. Nice. This is actually the first day that I'm able to sit cross-legged in a very, very long time. I still have a support, but it's really nice. I missed how easy it is to sit like this compared to sitting with your legs forward. I remember someone asked if there's a reason why you should sit cross-legged. Well, just try sitting, trying to keep a straight back with your legs forward. It's actually really difficult. Hey, Tim. How's it going? Oh, it'll be so nice to sit today. I really feel like I can need it. It's been a long day. It's always nice to come here and have some friends to sit with. I think the delay is 20 seconds. I'm guessing I can see when I'm pouring up my cup now. Just so you're aware, if you're writing something, then it'll take some time for me to answer. Hey, man for mama. Nice to have you here. I'm okay. Tired, allergy, happy. Some things. Just play with the kids. It's so adorable when it's summer and they can go out and play, and it's really nice. My chat didn't work just now. Oh, did the chat disappear? I don't see any problems. Could be, just see if I can see any stream health. No, I think it's working. It says that I'm not getting any error messages. To be honest, I'm actually not that good at this streaming part, so it could very well be that there's something dropping or something, some frames. But it seems like it's working. Tell me if it happens again, and I'll see if I can do something about it. I wonder, it's summertime now, so it's everyone starts their. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Sweden, July is the big vacation for everyone. It's what they call the industrial vacation. So everyone who works in the industry, schools, and like pretty much everywhere, they'll have vacation this coming month. So I'm not sure if there's actually going to be any people meditating. We'll see how people join up. But maybe that's just a Swedish thing, and people keep on working and doing other stuff throughout July. And it's just, here that we're a bit synced with that. I know that in some countries they like move the vacation so they don't have them all on one date, especially the schools. Like in Sweden, everyone has vacation at the same time. So there's a lot of kids that aren't going to school during June and July, and I think they start usually second week of August or something. Hey, JVB. How is it where you guys are? Is it the same that everyone has vacation in July and then like people just don't hang online? Or maybe people hang online more. I don't actually know. Summertime, we had like Swedish summer is beautiful, but we jokingly say that it only happens 2 weeks per year. Because we had, I think, 1.5 weeks in May when it was just amazing. And then we had 1 week, like a week ago or so, that was very nice. And now it's just usually grey and rainy, which is typical Swedish. I said that's typical Swedish midsummer weather. And then August, usually the weather comes. So everyone's just longing to go to the beach and want to go fish crabs. My daughter loved that last year. We have like these little, like a clothing, the thing you pinch clothes with, and you put some meat or something on it, and you fish crabs, and you lift them up and you pick them in the bucket, and then you let them go again. It's just really fascinating for kids, to pick them up. And I remember when I was a kid, we just, how many can we get? And we would see them crawl around for no other reason than just fishing crabs. There's something just really nice about fishing and just seeing things come up as hiding down there. Even better when it's just crabs you release again, because then obviously no pain for them, which is nice. Maybe pain, but at least they don't get hurt. Yeah, they shouldn't be. July is generally vacation time in the USA. Yeah, I think most countries have it that way. But I guess if you live in the southern hemisphere, because then everything is flipped. That's really, I'll have to ask. I have a coaching client who lives in Australia. I'll ask him how it is for them during their winter time, because it would be strange, if they had time off for winter when it's summer. Or maybe they don't care. Maybe it's actually nicer because it's too warm. So it's just nice when it's winter. I don't actually know. But it is nice with some time off to sit a little bit more, to spend some more time with the family and just do stuff around the house. It seems like if you have an apartment, then there's so little to take care of. But when you have a house, there's just constantly things to do, and it's fun stuff. It's just when there's too much of them, then you don't have time. Yes, I'm. When I was an exchange student in America, they used to call me Swedenese because my father's from Sweden, but my mother is from Sri Lanka. So Ceylonese, they were joking with. But I was born and raised in Sweden, so I actually haven't lived my entire life. I think I lived most of my life in Sweden, and then I probably lived in Asia. Well, I was away for 8 years while I was a monk, and then I studied 1 year in the States. I lived 2 years in France. What else did I do? And then I traveled a lot, so I probably have 10 years abroad or something. So most of my time I've been in Sweden, but I've lived abroad quite a lot also. And the more I travel, the more I appreciate Sweden. Sweden is such a nice country in so many ways. It's just nice balance between being able to do things and at the same time having taxes that are quite high, but you have a support system if something happens to you, and people take care. People are generally very kind to others, generally. It's changed since I was a child, but it's still, it's a soft country. Beautiful scenery, like very beautiful nature. I think the only country that I really feel like, oh wow, that's also another country I really like is New Zealand. New Zealand is also, I don't know about the support system and how the government works, but New Zealand is one of those countries that's just gorgeous. If I'm not mistaken, you stayed at the Plum Village at some point, correct? Yes, I've spent about a year in Plum Village, the one in Bordeaux in France. Very nice place. It started because I was home during the summers to visit my family. I think after 3 years I came home the first time, or 4 years. I had backpacked for 2 years, and then I was ordained for after 4 years I think I came back to Sweden for the first time to visit my family. And I wanted to go to a monastery in Europe, and I just looked for monasteries, and I found Plum Village, and I was really fortunate because Plum Village became a big part of my ordination and also partly my practice eventually. Even though I don't practice what they do, I feel like I picked up a lot of good influence from Plum Village because it's a beautiful practice and great place in so many ways. I highly recommend it if someone wants to go and practice there. It's just a really chill, nice atmosphere. It's more feel good than really intensive meditation. If you go to the Asian centers, it's really intensive meditation with 10-15 hours per day, whereas in Plum Village they had, I think, 5.5 hours per week or something like that. So it was very different compared to some of the centers I went to. Nice. We'll have, for those of you who are new, we have 10 minutes before like this where we just chat a little bit. And then after that, we'll sit for 20 minutes. Today is Monday. It is Monday, right? Yeah, it's Monday. So it's guided meditation for 20 minutes. And then after that, we have questions and answers if you have any questions. And we usually start with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a method where we focus on our senses, because usually when we go through the days, there's so much that happens and so many things we keep thinking of, and our mind is drifting away. So we want to come back and be aware of our senses. And a really good exercise for doing that is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, where we say 5 things out loud that we can see, 4 things that we can hear, touch, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things that we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And it's good if you can say it out loud, because it's not really about just doing them. It's about actually coming back to your senses. If you could just do 1 of them and really be aware of it, that would be enough. It's not how many you do it, it's how aware you are when you do it. So you can do it together with me when I do it. So I'll say, I can see a lamp, I see a office chair, I can see a pair of shorts. There's a pair of glasses, a lens cap, and a bunch of keys. And those were 5 things that I could see. Then we take 4 things that we can touch. I can touch this metal cylinder. I can touch my sweater. I can touch the blanket that's lying on me. And I can touch the glass on my telephone. And then we do 3 things that we can hear. And that's when we need to really go inside and listen, because it'll be more difficult the further we move along. And I can hear the fan from the AC that I just turned on. I can hear the fan from my computer. I think I can hear the hens. There is some kind of bird making a sound outside. And then after that we do 2 things that we can smell. I smell citrus from the throat pastille that I'm taking. And I can smell that smell of a room that's been in like sunlight the entire day. And then after that we do 1 thing that we can taste. I can taste sparkly citrus from my throat pastille. So start by bringing your awareness back to your breath. Just start becoming aware of breath happening inside of you. We don't need to look for specific sensations or anything in particular. We're just observing and feeling, being aware of breath happening as you're breathing in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out. And just get comfortable with what that feels like. Now, on a day like this, there might have been lots of things that happened before you came to sit down, and there might be many things that will happen after you've sat down, or that will happen in the next week, or the next month. But ask yourself, just for these next 20 minutes, would it be okay if you let them rest? Would it be okay if you didn't try to find a solution to that thing you need to solve, and instead focus on your breath? Would it be okay if you didn't feel irritated, angry about that thing that happened earlier this month that you've been going around feeling angry about the whole time, and instead you just focus on your breath just for 20 minutes? And if that's okay, then start again bringing your awareness to your breath, being aware that breath is happening, and let all other things fall to the side. And you'll notice rather quickly that it's difficult to let the mind rest with the breath, because it wants to run off in all other directions. So to make that a little bit easier, we'll do a technique where we count from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1. And I'll do it together with you 1 time at first, and then you can continue by yourself. When I do the breathing, I'll make it a bit emphasized, but you don't actually need to breathe that way. Instead, you just let breath happen however it's happening, but to make it easy for you to follow along, I will breathe a bit louder than I normally would. So breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in, breathing out. 4. Breathing in, and breathing out. 5. Breathing in, and breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 8. Breathing in and breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in and breathing out. 5. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in, breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 1. Now just continue counting your breath by yourself as you're breathing in, breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. Sometimes when you sit, the mind just feels dull, feels sluggish, might even give you anxiety when you try to observe the breath. Other times it's smooth and it's soft, and observing the breath is like inhaling some kind of godly elixir. It just makes you feel calm and at ease. It's easy when one starts out to believe that the reason for that is that you're doing something right when it works, or that you're doing something wrong when it doesn't work. And there is sometimes a part of that that is at play, but most of the time the breath just does what the breath does. And sometimes it'll be pleasant, and sometimes it will be unpleasant. Sometimes it will be neutral. Sometimes it will feel numb and you can't really feel anything at all. Other times there's just softness. There's these cycles that you go through when you meditate that we don't really have much control over. And you could spend a lot of time trying to understand why the breath is a certain way at one time. Maybe you did something before. Maybe your meditation has been moving in a particular way the last few weeks. But the absolutely best approach to pretty much anything that comes up, more or less, is to just observe it and see that that will pass. And just keep on observing whatever your object of meditation is. Don't feel discouraged. And don't feel like you're a great yogi who's finally figured out how to gain samadhi or enlightenment because you have one sitting where you feel amazing. Next time that will change, and it won't feel the same. And if not the next time, then the next time after that, or the next time after that. So whenever your meditation isn't giving you what you think it should, just do your best to accept it and come back to your breath and observe as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in, breathing out. In this particular kind of meditation, we're not trying to control the breath. We're not doing breath work. We're not trying to make the breath do anything. Instead, what we're trying to do is step to the side and just observe what the breath does by itself as you're sitting here. There's not really a right or wrong. The breath just is, and it changes. Sometimes you'll sit down and you'll be breathing very fast. And after a while you notice it's slowed down. Sometimes it's the other way around. Whatever the breath does is what you'll be observing. And the awareness that you develop when you're observing the breath like this is something you'll bring with you after the meditation. It's a sort of anchor that anchors you into mindfulness, that anchors you from not drifting completely away into your thoughts and your distortions, but instead, as long as there's just a tiny bit of your awareness, being aware of breath happening, you haven't completely gotten lost in your emotions, or your anger, your fear, worry, or whatever it is. And when you notice your breath, if you've been angry, then you can try to shift your awareness to see if you can hear anything. Is there something you can see around you? Is there something you can smell? Something you can taste? Something you can touch? The breath is just there to help you come back to your senses. So in this state of sitting quietly with closed eyes, not moving, we're making it as simple as possible to be aware of what's happening inside of you. As you observe your breath, breathing in and breathing out, one, breathing in, breathing out. As usual, you're welcome to keep on sitting, or just have a cup of tea with me, or the floor is open for questions if you feel like it. Let's see. Hey, Haskipu. Hi. Jack, good evening. My new work schedule has moved my meditation session to the earlier hours of the day, at least during the week, so I might not be able to participate in the evening meditation. Oh, that's a shame, Jack. I enjoy having you here. I hope maybe it can change in the future. Well, Jack, for those of you who don't know, Jack is one of the regulars. He's usually always here. It is nice to have a group of people that you meditate with. It doesn't necessarily have to be physically in person, but just some group of people that you sit with. It just helps, because it makes it easier somehow to have regularity and just have, maybe not accountability always, but just sitting with other people is just easier for some reason. And I can have a lot of explanations as to why that is, but it just is. And you'll find that out yourself quite easily when you sit. JVB is saying, when I meditate, a rush of images goes through my mind. It's like when you quickly change the channel on the TV. I let the images come and go as they please without pressure. Am I meditating correctly? I would say that's perfect. There are, for what we're trying to do here and what I'm trying to do with my practice, then yes, that is perfect. Thoughts and images come, and instead of grabbing onto them, you just let them pass on through. There are some people who take those images and try to create with them and try to do law of attraction and try to find their past lifetimes, future lifetimes, and I've always found that just keeps you more engaged and tied to this sense of me, I'm so important, instead of just seeing them as good practice. So I can let go of all these interesting things that come up. I can just let them go, and then you can be interested in what's happening with your other senses, because that's just something happening. And it's just attachment, the same if it's an image in your mind or an object outside of you. So I would say that that's exactly how we should be meditating, and most people would agree. Although there would be some here online, especially YouTube, who would probably have a different opinion about that. And it just depends on what you want to do. If you want to lull yourself into this nice feeling of a dream of yourself as a superhero or whatever, then yeah, you can do that. But that is kind of not at all what we're trying to do here. So again, it depends on what you want to do with your meditation. I think the more you meditate, you'll see that meditation has different purposes, and some kinds of meditation are good for some things, some for other things, and people have very different, almost at agendas, different purposes with why they're meditating and why they want to do it. And it's not really that anything is wrong, it's just what you want to do with it. And then as someone who has meditated, you can say, well, if you want to do this, but then you're doing something completely different, then that doesn't really match. I usually give the analogy if there's a door straight in front of me. If I want to go out of this room, the thing that would make sense is for me to get up, walk over there, unlock the door and go out. That would make sense if I said that I want to get out of this room. If instead I said I want to get out of this room, and then I lie on my back and I point my legs to the ceiling and try to touch it, and I realize I'm not long enough, so then I try to stand on my head, and I'm closer, but I'm still not there, and then I stand on my arms eventually, and I'm so close, but it's not possible. So then I start climbing the sofa, and I'm still standing on my arms, and I fall over and I hurt myself. I'm trying to touch this ceiling, but I can't, and then I climb on the walls, and I do all kinds of crazy stuff to try to touch the ceiling. And then after I've done all of that, I jump out of the window to get out of the room. That works. It's not that you're not getting out of the room, but it depends on, if you want to get out of the room, you don't need to stand on your head and try to touch the ceiling. That's good if your purpose is to touch the ceiling and see what the ceiling feels like. Then obviously you would, maybe not stand on your head, you could just try to stand on something and reach it. That depends. So it might sound silly when I say it like that, but it's important to think about what you actually want to achieve with your practice, instead of saying that you do the right thing or wrong thing. Because again, like I said, there might be that there's some really good reason to find out what's up on the ceiling. I don't know. It's not what I do. And, well, like I said, I hope that makes sense. I smile sometimes when I think about how people complicate their practice. They put so many layers and so many different things on their practice that in the end it's just really difficult to practice. Jack is saying, I thought I could adjust my schedule so I can do my yoga at the mornings and meditation sessions in the evenings, but no, I have to do one after the other. Yeah, sometimes it's like that. You're always welcome, you know that, Jack, whenever you can. Andreas M. Hi, Martin. Nice to see you. I wonder if you're still a Buddhist. To be honest, I don't think I ever was a Buddhist. I mean, I never consider myself a Buddhist. Maybe in periods. I mean, no, I don't think at heart I was never really a Buddhist. And I'll tell you why, because that might sound strange. After all, I lived as a Buddhist monk for 6 years, but I still didn't consider myself a Buddhist, which some people would say is the most Buddhist thing you can do. So I'll explain why. If I'm a Buddhist, you first have to ask yourself, okay, so I'm a Buddhist, but what kind of Buddhist? Sorry, you're a Buddhist, okay, so that means you believe in karma, rebirth, and that you have past life and future lives. But then you have to ask yourself, am I and lots of other things, of course, but then you have to ask yourself, do I belong to the Mahayana tradition or the Theravada traditions? And they are vastly different, like incredibly different. And there's different branches of these systems. They say like almost actually opposite things of what the other are saying. So if you say you're a Buddhist, and then you have to say, well, which one of these? Because one is saying the other one is wrong. And you also have to ask yourself, well, do I know that there is past life, future life? And can I, without a doubt, prove that that is true? I've had lots of experiences that could be explained by saying that there is, but I also have lots of experiences that I could interpret however. Like, so I could never, or it's part of my practice to not try to explain things out of what I'm experiencing with my senses. And when I mean that is that when I sit still, what I've noticed, and my belief as to why all these things come up, like JVB was saying, those things coming, images in his mind, is that when we get really relaxed and we're no longer distorting towards the world around us, all the senses are like this, like you've been banging your skin and your mind with ideas, and when you stop, they're gonna kind of sputter and like a, you know, when you chop off the head of a hen, it runs around. I've never actually seen that, but I've heard that they're supposed to do that. So there's still like these reactions going on, like nerves twitching. And it's the same when you sit down. So the mind just spits out stuff. Now, could that stuff be from somewhere else, from future past, from another dimension? I mean, obviously it could, but I have no idea. I could also give 10 other explanations. So I never consider myself a Buddhist because I could never bring myself to say that, yes, that is true, or that is true, or if I belong to this tradition of Buddhism, then there's 32 levels of existence, but this other one says 27, and this one says if you die while you're in a jhana, then you come to this level, but this one says no, that's not really true, that's not important. It's like, it makes no difference. Just sit and practice, or do whatever your practice is. That's more important than all this philosophy that doesn't really, again, from the perspective of wanting to get rid of the sense of self. If you want to become a scholar, then obviously you should learn these things and try to understand them. But I'm not trying to become a scholar. If you are, then absolutely go for it. JVB, you know what's interesting? When I give the images their time of being, a sudden rush of relaxation follows as if giving thoughts their time, and they release muscle tension. Let me read that again. You know what's interesting? When I give the images their time of being, a sudden rush. So I'm assuming what you mean by giving them their time of being is that you don't try to push them away, but instead you just let them come. and let them take up their space, and then they go away. And that's, again, exactly how we should be doing. We're not trying to get away from these images. We're not trying to get away from the things that come up. We're instead letting them come and just wash over us and walk away. So that does make sense, but it is difficult to do because we tend to grab onto them and distort towards them, because I like this image, but I don't like this one, and then you start doing this stuff. So if you can do that, that's really great, really good. Jack, how much to a retirement do you have? I could retire myself now, but I realize after a few longer vacations, I get boring pretty quickly, right? Well, to retirement financially, that would be a long time. But age-wise, I'm 46, and I think, is it 67 now in Sweden? So I have like 21 years until I'm officially retired. But I mean, I don't think I could ever retire in the sense that I would just go on vacations. I would, if I would have no work, meaning the work I do now with the municipality, I would just do this like much more. I would love to make more videos. I would love to do more guided sittings like this other time zones, or to develop that more into my system that I'm kind of coming up with myself as I go along. I would like to develop that more and make courses and make, I don't know, like other kinds of retreats and stuff. But that's, yeah, so I agree with you. I can't see myself retiring as in just sitting on the sofa and watching Netflix. That's just not in my personality to do that. But I could see myself really enjoying just walking around in the garden and fixing the garden and taking care of our hens and just being with the kids, or just building our home like that. That I could definitely do if I was retired. But I think I'd also like to do something like this because I really enjoy this kind of work. It doesn't feel like work to me. Yeah, my throat is still bad. I'm wondering if it's something strange. I've gotten extremely tired. Throughout the days, I just get so tired I almost feel sick. I want to lie down. I'm going to test myself for COVID, because they've said it can show like half a month after you've had it. So maybe that's what I had. We'll see. Jack, there is nowhere to go and nothing. Yeah, it's like that Plum Village song where they sing that, nowhere to go, nothing to do, and I don't need to worry. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. I've forgotten the rest of it, but they have lots of nice songs in Plum Village. Plum Village, again, I disagree with a lot of their teachings, but I think it's a beautiful place to go to, and they have so much good that you can learn there and do there, and really, yeah, there's a lot of goodness in that. And I think it's important to see that you don't have to accept everything that you get from some tradition. I hope that when you come here and listen to me, that you don't say, oh, this is like everything I agree. Like, go here and see what do I teach that you find resonate with you. And for some people that will be everything, but for most people that will like, okay, I like this, but then at the same time I want to keep this, or I want to do that, then do that. Like, just get the things that are good. Like, I find that all traditions, and I really mean that, I think all traditions I've ever come in contact with, there's been something that's been good about it. I haven't found any traditions that are just like downright crap everything. Can't come up with one now, at least. No, I don't think so. They all have their own stuff that's good. Some of it very generic. I think that's the main thing. There's a lot of philosophies and thoughts that are really generic, that doesn't really add anything, but they can be really good at what, like, some part of that. So it's good to take the good stuff and then, yeah, do whatever you feel is good for you. What about Plum Village teachings do you disagree with? I think it's mostly they do a lot of, they kind of make the inner child into a person or an entity that exists inside of you, and I can see where that comes from. But I also think that if you have schizophrenia or other mental diseases, which a lot of people who come there do have, telling them that you should fantasize that you're walking next to your father and your grandparents or people you've lost, and you're holding hands with them and you're having conversations with them, that's not really a good thing to do, because that's kind of fueling their imagination in a way that they shouldn't. It's not healthy for them. And I say this because my mother has schizophrenia, so if she would have come there, that would have been a really bad idea to have her do those things. And it's not just that I disagree, it's the way they teach which doesn't suit me. So the teaching is poetic. It's more of poetry. Like I just get lost because there's so much fluff in between the actual thing they're trying to say. And some people really enjoy that. They like that if I want to say one thing, instead of just saying, okay, this is what it is, and then describing factually the things around it, they make these long stories and make it sound so beautiful and make it sound really wise and deep. But it's just like this one thing that was good in that. So I find there's too much fluff and like not saying it as it is, but trying to say, being ambiguous. And it just doesn't suit me. But it suits a lot of people. So if you like that kind of stuff, then I mean, that's amazing. That's why it's so good that there's different traditions, because some tradition teaches like that, and they make some things more important than I think they are. They focus very heavily on being kind towards other beings, to the point where it makes them feel bad, meaning that they suffer because the world is suffering, instead of trying to change the world without suffering, which is something I disagree with. Jack is saying, if you are living in celibate, it is probably a lot easier to just drop it all than if you have wife and kids and grandkids in the horizon. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not the celibacy part that's the problem. Celibacy just means that you don't have a partner, you don't have sex. I mean, that's not really it does help. Yeah, of course it helps, but it's celibacy has just become this thing that people think is this semen retention is such a big, like what do you call it now, pop word, or like it's popular, it's a trend now, kind of. And like nothing magical happens if you don't come for like a year. It's not really like, all of that stuff is just I think a lot of people spend so much time chasing after the opposite sex. Then yes, if you're like that, not doing that is going to be a huge difference. But it's not that you can't have sex. I mean, I have a partner and we have sex, and I don't feel like that brings me further away from being, or if anything, it brings me very close to the present moment and being aware of what's happening around me. It really helps bring me here and now and feel in contact with another human being. So I don't agree with how that's being viewed in Buddhism, that it's kind of bad. It can be, and it can be really useful to do it for a part. I think everyone should try it for a part of their life, because it's really useful to get away from it and say, oh, like, who would I be without this? How needy am I to have this? But yes, life is easy when you don't have relationships and responsibilities, obviously. JVB, I listen to Thich Nhat Hanh, and that's my limit. Okay, well, if you like it, it's like I said, I would sit and meditate, and I usually had absolutely no idea what he was saying, because it was just like listening to a lullaby. I find his voice very soothing, and he's such a sweet man. If you ever seen him, he's just like this, like, yeah, especially before he had his stroke, he was just a really nice man. So yeah, I can listen to him. People often ask me after, how do you find the teaching, this course? I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't like pay attention. And they thought the main thing was being aware of what he was teaching, the words. Whereas I sat there and I loved the feeling of sitting with 600 people who all would focus on one person, and then like everyone wanted to be kind, everyone wanted to better themselves, and everyone wanted to just be aware. That's an incredible ambience to be in. And I always said that the thing that impressed me the most about Thich Nhat Hanh is not his teachings, and not at all. It's the environment that he was able to create, which is incredible, just really incredible. Not many places on earth you can go and have the experience you'll have at Plum Village. It is interesting to take part in and gain an understanding of other people's opinions and beliefs. Yes, it is, sometimes. And sometimes it's just a distraction. And after you've heard, I mean, I had hundreds of people I spoke to, and after a while you realize it's the same things just coming over, and you can see that it's just, yeah, it's not important. It's exactly what you say. It's opinions and beliefs, and they're not absolute. And so the best way to do it is just kind of let go of as much of it as possible, and just be aware of your senses, what's happening right here, right now. Opinions, beliefs are actually bringing you aware from being here, because now you have an opinion about this sofa. This is a good sofa. No, it's a bad sofa. And it's not that you can't know that, but it's an opinion when you start fighting about it, or belief, and you're like, oh, I know this, and I can feel this. That's the whole problem. It was a good time, wasn't it? So cool that you got to meet Thich Nhat Hanh. Yeah, I love Plum Village. Plum Village was always, summers there were very nice. I got to spend, most of the time I think I spent 2 or 3 months there. I would come before the summer retreat, which was in July, when they had, I know we were cooking, and we cooked for like 500 or 600 people, maybe even more a few times. So there were lots of people in Upper Hamlet, and they had 3 hamlets. Upper Hamlet was the biggest one. So there was like several hundred people who would come there every week, and everyone was new, and it was just lots of young people. There was a lot of energy and a lot of curiosity, and I used to play with the kids also. They had like activities for the kids, and I used to fold model airplanes that we would fly. I just loved doing that. I always loved kids. Kids are just really nice to be around because they're always happy and just easy. They're more aware of what's happening around than the most people who practice meditation. He should have gotten the Nobel Prize at some point. I think he was nominated, wasn't he? By, I think, Martin Luther... No. I can't remember. I think someone nominated him for the Peace Prize. Good night, Jack. Oh yeah, it's actually 9 o'clock. As always, really nice having these discussions. It's one of the highlights of my week to have. And I'm so happy to hear other people's opinions and ideas about their practice, because it helps me understand what people are doing, and also seeing that the world I lived in as a monk is not the world that most people are used to. So I have completely different angle towards practice in general than most people who go on YouTube. And that's really important to have in mind, that people haven't tried everything. I mean, obviously I haven't tried everything, but people haven't seen like all the different ways that you can practice. And it's very easy to see one thing and think that's the thing, and not really move on and try other things. And it's easy to get caught up in beliefs and ideas. And for the first time in history, you have access to every single tradition on the entire planet, except for the ones who are trying to be hidden, which I'm sure there are some. And that's not really a blessing, I think. Thank you, Mindful Mama. And yes, it was MLK. Thank you, JVB, Jack, Andreas, everyone else. It's a pleasure as always. And I'll see you on Thursday again. Thursday will be nice. Thank you and good night.